Yes, January is almost over. Yes, indeed. However, this is my December of 2024 wrap up. Hi, hello, how are you? Welcome back to my channel. As you can tell, we're a little bit of a chaos gremlin today. I'm going to be talking about the books that I read in December. Most people would be like, okay, we're just not going to film it. Like, let it go. Most people, not me. No, because I really made it a point in 2024 to film wrap-ups, and I did for every single month but December. December and the beginning of January was crazy. It was so crazy. I feel like I'm a broken record and I just trauma dump on you guys all the time, but not only was it the holidays, but someone in my family passed away. I had multiple people in my family hospitalized. The fires and the wind in California were so crazy, and although we weren't super close to the fires, the wind kept knocking out our power, and we spent most of January without power. In fact, we had more days in January without power and without hot water and without Wi-Fi than we did with power. So by no means complaining, I am very lucky to be here and have my health and my house. But I really feel like January, the new year, didn't start for me, really. Okay, I'm on a different calendar at this point. So we're gonna wrap up December and we can all just pretend that this is just like a recent reads. Just talk about some recent reads. And we'll still have like a January wrap up and we'll be back to our normal regular schedule. Okay, let's move on. I only read 9 books in the month of December. 3 of them were for book clubs and 1 of them was a reread. So let's go ahead and just talk about them. Out of those 9 books that I read, I had 4 5 stars, which is quite a lot. So I did read a lot of good books in the month of December. I had 2 4 stars, 1 3 star, and 2 2 stars. Hopefully that math is mathing. If it doesn't, don't look at me. Let's go ahead and talk about all the 5 stars first, and then we'll make our way down. So the first 5 star that I read was False Comeback by Lily Maid. This is the 4th book in the Goliaths of Wrestling series. This book is a part of a series, and I would absolutely love to tell you you can read it as a standalone, because, I mean, you can, but you shouldn't. Like, the whole series is just so magnificent together, and you get to see all of the side characters in different books. So I would say just read this whole series. I feel like it is criminally underrated. It is a male paranormal romance series that follows different paranormal creatures and monsters who are professional wrestlers. I would say these 4 books kind of lean more into like romantic comedy because they're funny as hell. They are so funny. They're super steamy, but they're also very sweet, and I have nothing to compare it to. I just think they're so unique and perfect. So if you have never read Lily Maid, definitely start with this series. Anyways, False Comeback is an enemies to lovers romance. Our 2 heroes are professional wrestlers. They have been co-workers for about 5 to 6 years, and they have never gotten along. They are complete polar opposites. One of our heroes is a ghoul, and he's a little bit rough around the edges, kind of crass, doesn't really hold back any remarks. And then our other hero is a royal fae, and he's very much not used to the human world that they live in, doesn't really understand like social cues. And the 2 of them, again, just don't get along. They absolutely hate each other. They're constantly fighting, and it has started to really impact their work life. All of their coworkers have basically told them that they need to figure things out. They're being paired together to fight in a wrestling match, and they have to put their differences aside to work together. This book is so sweet and romantic and steamy and funny and just like everything that I want in a romance book. It is enemies to lovers. It does have slight BDSM elements to it, as well as a praise kink, which you guys know is my favorite thing ever. I love this book, and I gave it 5 stars. I hope she does a romance for all of the wrestlers because all of the side characters are so intriguing. So yeah, if you were to read anything in this entire video, please read this series. Okay, next up is another male romance, and that is Exiled by Jesse Walker. I read this because of the recommendation from my best friend Desiree, and I'm so happy that he did. This is an angsty, very angsty male-male romance between our heroes Nolan and Skylar. It also has a little bit of an age gap. Nolan and Skylar end up meeting in rehab. Nolan is a recovering alcoholic. Skylar is not an addict, but his family has forced him to go through this therapy, really because they just don't understand him. He is on the spectrum and has been mistreated by his family time and time again, so this does have some darker trigger warnings that I would recommend checking out before you pick up this book. The two of them meet literally at like the lowest point in their lives, but they end up finding solace with one another. This book spans many years, which I feel like is really needed because of the age gap between them, but it's so good seeing them like continuously find their way back together. It's gorgeous, stunning, beautiful, immaculate, all of the adjectives. I gave it 5 stars. I really, really enjoyed it. It's dark, it's messy, it's emotional. So if you're not someone who really likes character-driven stories, because really that's all this book is, there's not too much plot to it, it's like all character-driven, you wouldn't like this book. For me, who loves emotional, angsty, character-driven stories, this just like hit all the marks. The book that it really, really reminded me of that kind of gave similar vibes was Rat Park by Marina Vivancos. That one is also following a character who is a recovering addict and kind of like finds solace in his friendship with the hero in that book, and it's gorgeous. I love that book as well. Speaking of Miss Marina Vivancos, she's quite literally the love of my life. I love her. I adore her. She is hands down my favorite author of all time. And I'm constantly rereading her books because I've read her whole backlist. So I have nothing left. And it makes me sad. Basically, I love her writing style and I constantly want to be in her universe. So I'm always rereading her books. I ended up rereading Out of the Wild Night, which is the 3rd book in her Dark Coven series. What is that series called? Something Coven. Out of the Wild Night on Goodreads. There you are. Coven Ties. It is the... Wow, I lied to you guys. It's the 2nd book in the Coven Ties series. Get it together, Samantha. This book has 500 ratings on Goodreads. 500 ratings. Criminally underrated. You guys need to read Marina Vivancos. Like, you're seriously sleeping on her, and it really makes me sad. For you, because you're missing out. Any hoozles, this is a collection of male-male romances that have like witches and magic. It takes place in a small town coven. It also exists in a dom sub universe. If you're not familiar with like what a dom sub universe is, it's kind of like an elevated version of BDSM and Omegaverse. Like, they had a cute little sexy baby. You are basically born with a certain designation. You are either a dominant or a submissive, and you have different biological like needs and urges depending on your designation. So our hero Mason is a submissive, and he has lived his entire life really being taken advantage by the people around him. So he's very jaded. He doesn't feel comfortable with like setting down roots. He does have animal magic and he's really, really good at it. So he ends up just like bouncing between different ranches and farms, taking care of animals, and that is how he ends up at this particular coven. He ends up meeting our hero Charlie, who also works there, and the two of them just like instantly connect with one another. This book gives me all the feels, okay? It's very emotional. There's lots of trigger warnings, but it's like... Hero Mason in this book goes through so much, and you instantly just like root for him, and seeing him get his happily ever after is just the most heartwarming, deserving thing ever. And I love, love, love the way that Marina Vivancos blends in discussions of mental health in her books. Like, it's done so well, and she's just perfect. She's so perfect. I gave it 5 stars the first time I read it, so this was a reread. Of course, it's gonna get 5 stars again. Another 5-star was A Chance at Love. A Chance of Love? A Chance at Love. Guys, I'm really losing it. Anyways, it was a Beverly Jenkins book. We read it for our book club for the Historical Hellions. I will just go ahead and link our live show where we talked about this book. We kind of like broke it down. Me, Chrissy, and Jess all had different opinions and ratings, and it was just a good time, good discussion. So I'll link that live show down below. In general, this is a Western historical romance with a very strong, independent heroine that I was rooting for the entire time. I love Beverly Jenkins and her writing style. She is a true master of her craft. She's really able to combine these sweepingly romantic stories with so much culture and history, and I love her. I adore her. I gave it 5 stars. Those were all my 5 stars, but we did have a 4-star, and it was A Pack for Winter by Alana Lee. This is an Omegaverse. Oh, I love it. I've been in such an Omegaverse mood. It's crazy. This is the second book in the Cozyverse series, but can totally be read as a standalone because the first book was written by a different author. It just like exists in the same universe. It's as if you were to like combine Gilmore Girls and Omegaverse together. It's a small town, cozy Omegaverse, very low stakes, high heat. Everything you would want from this genre. There's nodding and heats and bonds and scent matches and all that good stuff. This is a poly Omegaverse, so it has 3 guys and 1 girl, and some of the boyfriends are boyfriends, which we love. Heroine is a school teacher in a very small town. She has recently gone through a bad breakup and really never thought that pack life was going to be something that she would have. She never really thought that she would find her alphas to bond with, but the meddlesome town that she lives in kind of helps her along the way as she's finding her alphas and building her pack. It's so cute, so cozy. I gave it 4 stars. I have actually read a little bit more from this author in January, so I'll talk about that in my January wrap-up, but I just think she writes really cozy and sweet Omegaverses, and I gave this one 4 stars. Another 4-star, and it's crazy that I gave this one 4 stars, but I totally did, and it was A One-Woman Job by Jessica Kane. Yeah. This one was actually one of my favorites, surprisingly enough, because some of her new shit is crazy, but I did like this one. Our heroine is the eldest of all her siblings, and she's been taking care of her younger siblings for like a really long time. One day, someone comes knocking at her door. It is someone who is threatening her and her family because her father owes a lot of gambling debt. And they basically like give her this option of paying the debt that she cannot pay, dying, which she does not want to do, or she can actually help them out. Hero is an assassin who has recently retired, and his boss is trying to get him back in the game. So they basically like coerce our heroine to go and seduce him and convince him to be an assassin again, and it follows the romance. Unhinged, completely unhinged, just bonkers, obsessive hero, very campy, but I really liked it. So I gave it 4 stars, and I'm not gonna apologize for it. I did read another Jessica Kane though, and I didn't like that one, and it was A One-Man Job. I gave this one 2 stars because it was really weird. It was so weird. So this is a romance between a stepdad and his 2 stepdaughters. I will preface this by saying the stepdaughters are not related. They're not sisters, biological sisters. Like, they don't share the same parents, okay? One heroine was adopted and just grew up with the other girl. So they're sisters, but not like biological. No incest is happening. Anyways, Hero is their stepdad, married their mom, and she died. And now he is like their main guardian. And these 2 girls are crazy. They're constantly getting in trouble. They're constantly breaking the law. And they literally only do it to get his attention. And in this book, they decide that they're going to seduce him. They're going to seduce him. And they do. You know, I am never here to yuck someone's yum. I'm really not. Like, did I read this whole thing? Sure, I did. It was a time. Did I enjoy it? No, not really. It was a little too weird for me, but I will continue to read Jessica Kane books, so I don't know what that says about me. The last 2 books were book club picks that I have done live shows on, so I will link those live shows down below just to save some time. I read Rest You Murdered Gentleman, which is a cozy mystery, and we read that for my cozy mystery book club that I do with Spencer. It's called Teacups and Murder. Live show will be linked down below. Shameless plug. It was a really fun Christmas cozy mystery. Our heroine owns a Christmas themed shop in New York. A very popular like photographer and interviewer is there in the town to do a piece on her small town during Christmas, and he is found dead. So she kind of needs to figure out what is going on. It wasn't my favorite cozy mystery that I've ever read, but it wasn't the worst. And the last book I read was After the Abduction by Sabrina Jeffries. This was another historical Hellions pick that I read for my historical romance book club. I didn't like it. That's all I'm gonna say. I didn't like it. I gave it 2 stars. I'm not gonna harp on it because I don't want to be negative. Okay, before we wrap it up, I'm going to talk about some movies that I watched in December and really loved. Mufasa came out in December, and I really loved it. Like, in a very serious, unironic way, I loved Mufasa. I know some people don't like live action Disney movies, but I thought the plot was so interesting and the soundtrack was so good. Lin-Manuel Miranda is going to do it every single time. The song is for the romance girlies. You can't tell me any differently. Love it, love it, love it. Love it. It was great. Love the storyline, love the actors, love the soundtrack. Just perfect. Fight me. Fucking fight me if you disagree. Another movie that I just thought was so beautiful was the 6888. Guys. Oh my god. Like, that is so good. The 6888 is a war movie set in World War II time period. It follows a battalion of all black women who basically facilitated in getting the mail sent to the soldiers. The impact that they had is just everything, but the way the story was told was honestly so moving, so beautiful. I was sobbing. Like, I literally can't even... I can't even explain it, but I can show you. Family was laughing at me how hard I was crying, so they were recording me. I'll go ahead and just put the clips of me watching this movie right now. Oh my god. Oh my god, stop recording me. Yeah, I was boo-hoo crying. That shit had me in my feels. It was so beautifully directed and just like, these are the stories that need to be told, truly. And I was so moved, incredibly moved by that movie. I've already watched it like 2 or 3 times. So please, please, please go watch it if you haven't. It was so good. Alright, so those are my favorite movies and some of the books that I read in the month of December. So now we're all caught up and we can start this year fresh and on track. Thank you guys for bearing with me, the chaotic mess that I am. If you guys stayed this long and enjoyed this video, leave me a lion emoji. Leave me a lion emoji for Mufasa, and I'll know that we're bookish besties. So yeah, that's it. As always, thank you for taking time out of your day to spend time with me. It means the world to me. I hope you guys are all staying happy and healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Bye. Love you.